Hello everybody, I'm back again answering the questions that you sent. Remember last time I asked you to send questions which I will respond to. So right now I've got about 9 questions that I received, some from my Facebook page, some from my WhatsApp inbox, some from other social media platforms. Okay, so the first question is coming from Samson Piri. He says, how come you don't seem to make mistakes when you are called for impromptu jam sessions at shows with all those different bands? Okay, that's a good question. Yeah, the first thing that I would like to say is that I might not be the best guitarist in the world, but one thing that I'm very good at is faking. So what I'm trying to say is that I also make mistakes, a lot of mistakes, but I'm very good at faking as if nothing has happened. And you know how it is within the arts world. If a mistake is done well, yes, you can do a mistake well. If a mistake is done well, it can be taken as an interpretation if you do it with confidence. But if you show everybody that you have made a mistake, then there are no two ways about it. It's a mistake. So to answer your question, I would like to play you 2 small examples. The first one is a show that I did with Mbeu. Yeah, I did with Mbeu just a few weeks ago. What happened is they called me on stage to do a Oliver Mtukudzi cover, but they had their own arrangements. So I made a small mistake, and if you don't listen carefully, you won't even notice it. According to their own arrangement, there is a place where they would stop, everybody would stop, and then they would continue later on. But I was not aware of that, so I just carried on playing. So if you listen carefully, you will notice that I carried on playing whilst everybody had stopped. Let me play the clip. You see? So that was a mistake. Then the second clip that I want to play you is not a mistake as such, but I was prevented from making a mistake by the bass player. I was called on stage to play. I had not rehearsed with them, and they had an arrangement where everybody would play in unison, and then everybody would stop after a drum fill. The bass player came and gave me a tip to tell me that there's an arrangement coming and everybody is going to stop. So what I did is I did not know how the arrangement was going to be played. So I stopped playing and pretended to play. And when I'm going to action, when I so as if I was playing something bad, I was not playing anything at all. So this shows that I'm not perfect. I also make mistakes. So I hope I answered your question well. This question is coming from Frederick Totlan. Frederick Totlan is always participating on these programs. And he says, what is your favorite lead guitar line that you played? And please, can you play it? Do not pamunoti up and sota 1 or 2. Okay, so one of my favorite guitar lines is a guitar line that I played for my Ndere brothers in 2002 on the song called Mapisarima. And it goes like I'm sure you know this one. In 2001, I think I recorded with Fungisai a song called Toita Redenga. It's also one of my favorite guitar lines. It was in the key of A. Yeah, but the guitar lines that I played, I don't like Zaka one, including one Jaitam Soro Teme. hapi mamwe futi. Japresident Amara Brown inonzi kure kure. Anyway, you asked for two. Ndazenda ku carried away. Let me stop there. Okay, the next question is coming from Chris Fulani. He says, on the last series of this program, you were asked who was the most difficult artist you ever worked with. You replied without mentioning names. But I think I know who the person is. Okay, but just keep it to yourself. So this time, can you tell us the easiest artists to work with in the studio? Okay, what happens with music is there is a lot of psychology that happens as well in the studio, just like any other field. And usually what happens, there is what Quincy Jones called overdressed insecurity. He says that people with too much ego or people who are difficult to work with have got overdressed insecurity. And I agree with him, because what I've noticed is that the most talented artists, the most brilliant artists, because popular, it happens with the music industry, because there are business, man. Because with business, you can be popular even if you are not very good, if you have got very good marketing skills. But when it comes to those who are very musically literate, not just literate in the sense of reading music and everything, I mean people who are really good with what they do, they are the easiest people to work with. The easiest people to work with. No matter how perfectionist they are, they know how to explain themselves. And you know what happens with music is, if you come to a producer or to band members and present a picture that you are very difficult and you think it makes you look cool or it makes you look like you know what you are doing, what suffers is your music. You need to treat the people that you are working with well, because what suffers or what benefits is your music. If you treat me badly, I'll work with an attitude, because with music we use inspiration. Music we use inspiration. Inspiration so people the artists who are not so good, they hide their insecurities in their attitude, and it's not a good thing. So answering your question, you said you wanted names of people who are very easy to work with. They might shock you. People like Japreza, very easy to work with in the studio. You can't wait for the session. People like Derek Mpofu, people like Beo, people like Alexio Kawara. Yeah. They respect your position as the producer. Bigger, so then you'll be trying your best to live up to the praises that he is giving you. So you work yourself to death trying to match up to the comments that he has given you. So I hope I answered your question very well, Chris. This one is coming from Jordan Piri. He says, what keeps you relevant? Okay, that's a very good question. There's a joke that I always say when I'm speaking to artists, especially those children of legends, people like Selma Mtukuzi, Aganyabinde, when I get it right, I always tell them that I played with your fathers and I played with you, and I'm going to play with your children and your grandchildren.
In the Alpina music industry, my 80s, there is another boy in you. Then Vandari Zanemi, then Chariz and Ivano in your foot. Was it 2015 then
One of the reasons that I maintain my relevance is that I don't fight change because usually every time there is a new thing coming, especially when it comes to technology, there is a human instinct to fight change. I think it has to do with protection, trying to protect yourself or trying to protect what you have gained or what you have built. But at times you end up destroying your career because you cannot fight change. So what I basically do is I embrace technology and I move with the times. And what I mean by that is, if you look at the way I do production, there's what we call loops and samples and sampling and so forth. If you look online, you always find loops and samples for hip-hop, for rock music, for all other genres. You don't find loops, samples and everything for Zimbabwean music or for organic African music. But I went a step further and created my own loops and samples for African music, for Zimbabwean music, for Mbira music, for Chimurenga music. So sometimes even when I program drums and percussion, you can't even tell whether it was played live or not. But I know that's too deep for somebody who is not into music production. But my reply to that is that I move with the times. But moving with the time doesn't mean I have to abandon my uniqueness. It doesn't mean I have to run away from being Zimbabwean. Because I've noticed that it's only in Zimbabwe where people think that kuti unzi uri kufamba with the times. For people to say that you are moving with the times, you need to abandon who you are. You need to copy what the South Africans are doing. You need to copy what the Nigerians are doing. You need to copy what the Jamaicans are doing. No, you can be modern and still be Zimbabwean. Given a choice, I'll choose being timeless than to be modern. Because if you look at people like Oliver Mtukudzi, Bob Marley, those people are just timeless. Their music still sounds fresh up to now. So that's the path that I want to take. I don't want to be modern. I want to be timeless. Okay, the next question is coming from Samson Moyo. He says, what's the hardest thing about being a Zimbabwean music producer? This one is it's a very interesting question. Okay, number one, you never hear American producers like Dr. Dre being said to have produced artists like U2 or Coldplay, because he's just a hip-hop producer. He produces hip-hop only. So because of that, he's specialized and you flourish. And but being in Zimbabwe, you are expected to produce all types of genres. And everybody wants you to fit into what they want. So that's very difficult. Because I was reading a statement by Dr. Dre when he refused to produce Michael Jackson, and he was being asked by Kevin Hart, and Kevin Hart was shocked. You refused to work with Michael Jackson?
You didn't work with both Prince and Michael Jackson?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
They're like...
What am I going to do in the studio with them?
But in Zimbabwe, because of Mamire, because of the state of the economy, you end up doing a lot of different genres, even genres that we are not good at. But as for me, I try my best to stick to what I'm good at. And what I'm good at is organic African music, like Mbira music, Chimurenga music, Sungura, and other African organic genres. If it comes to foreign music, one type of music that I'm very comfortable with is roots reggae. That's why I've produced a number of roots reggae artists, even foreign artists like Bongo Riot from South Africa, and he got an award.
The winner is Bongo Riot, the dance on Wakanda with true stories. Your boy Bongo Riot, the dance on Wakanda. And I also produced Luciano when he did a collab with Japreza. So basically that's where I stand. But answering your question, the first thing that's difficult about being a Zimbabwean music producer is that you have to do different genres. And generally, as Zimbabwean musicians in general, usually our intelligence is measured based on our abilities to be able to play or to be able to produce foreign music. I don't know why it's always like that. Because artists are you are supposed to measure me based on what I play. Spain, but I'm saying it, this is not pride. Point I'm Zimbabwean. My intelligence should be measured based on how I play Zimbabwe. Then the second thing that's difficult about being a Zimbabwean music producer is because it doesn't pay as much as people think. Because our revenue stream, like right now, is just one, which is studio time that is paid by the artist. Because right now we no longer have royalties. I'm sure you all know that we no longer have record labels in Zimbabwe. So all the music sales are being harvested by music pirates. So there's no money coming in. We don't have royalties. Long back when we used to have record labels, music producers used to be paid what are called producer points. That's a percentage of the revenue. And producers used to buy houses with that amount of money. And in countries like South Africa, USA, the Western world, Nigeria, they still have all those systems in place. But in Zimbabwe, as a music producer, your only income is the money that is played by the artist Apinda Padoab. And for the simple reason that we work behind the scenes, we are not that popular. Music producers are not that popular. As a result, we don't get endorsements. We don't go to perform on our own. And because of the state of the economy, the amounts of money that we charge even for production is so little. Because right now there are studios in the ghettos that can charge something like $5 per song. So people like me who charges we are even called expensive, but comparing to other countries, it's nothing. So the second thing that's difficult about being a Zimbabwean music producer is that we don't have money. Then the next question is coming from Ali in Chennai. He says, is it wise to create a structure per home studio? Meaning with a studio manager, a secretary, an admin, and so forth. This is from Ali in Chennai. Yeah, I like a statement that I read last time, which was saying that one mistake that small business people do is to treat their businesses as small businesses. Which means if your business is a small business, don't treat it like a small business. So if you are able to afford such services from such professionals, why not? You can have a secretary, a receptionist, you can have them as long as you are able to pay them. Especially me, I would love to have an assistant producer, an assistant engineer, someone who just does mixing. Because mixing in terms of every time I do mixing, I always come out with a headache. But because Ashnamari, like I said, the music in general is a low-income industry in Zimbabwe. So some of the things that we fail to do is because we don't have the money. It's not because we are not serious. It's not because we don't want to, but it's because we don't have the money. So answering your question, Ali, yes, it's very wise for you to have all those structures for your home studio. Then this question is coming from Lee Park Lee. I hope I pronounce your name very well. He says, why is it that most musicians from outside the Harare struggle to get it to the top? Even if they are good, but most of them can't be recognized. What is the solution? Okay? Yeah, Harare is the capital city of Zimbabwe. And if you go around the world, it's the same story. Because the capital city is where most of the business occurs. The capital city has got more venues to play than any other city. One disadvantage used to be that all the radio stations and TV stations were based in Harare. But we thank God that that area has been decentralized. So every region is now has got its own radio station. And I'm sure the issue of TV station is being worked around. So if you're in Bulawayo, you have Sky FM, you have the other radio stations that cater for your area. So you can make it one. And then we also have artists who are like for example 911 band, Sandra Ndebele from Bulawayo, Travelers from Gweru as well. They are always in the capital, playing around the capital, and the simple reason that they are good, they are accepted. Let me tell you, it has nothing to do with tribalism. It has nothing to do with anything else, with any type of segregation. It's simply because the capital city is where most business happens. So it's easier in the capital city than anywhere outside the capital. But still, there are ways you can work around it. Like, for example, the examples that I gave of Travelers Band and 911 Band. They are always in the capital in Harare, hustling and playing everywhere. Their names are becoming big. The same thing with Sandra Ndebele, the same thing with Love Mama Jevane. He moved to Harare and he would play between Harare and Bulawayo. So that's one way you can sort the problem. But these days with social media, you don't have to be anywhere. You can be in Bulawayo, in Rishawane, in Mtorashanga, and still be noticed. I hope I answered your question. Okay, this one is coming from Lenmon Love. It's a very interesting question. He says, I came to your inbox asking about a story concerning Leonard Import playing a 9-string guitar, and you dismissed the story as fake. Can you explain? First thing that I would like to say is that whoever came up with the story, I'm 100% sure that he's not a guitarist. He doesn't know how guitars operate. Around the world, we've had so many great guitarists from the likes of Jimi Hendrix, B.B. King, Carlos Santana, Neni Chaku from DRC, Diblo Dibala from DRC, Dali Kimok from DRC, Ray Piri from South Africa, Jonas Tole from Zimbabwe, Leonard Import, John Chibadura from Zimbabwe. You never hear of musicians playing guitars that are more than 6 strings. Why? Because everything that you want to play fits on these 6 strings. You don't need a 7th string. You don't need an 8th string. It's totally unnecessary. Okay, for example, let's talk about Dembo. Dembo was a Sungura guitarist. And under normal circumstances, Sungura lead guitarists usually play the first 4 strings. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just playing 4 strings only. And usually when it comes to Sungura lead guitar, it's usually 3, 4 or 5 strings only. No matter what you play. Those are 4 strings only. Those are just 3 strings only. One. Why? Because lead guitar is about playing on the higher register. And for the guitar to be high, it means you have to play the first 3 and 4 strings. Once you go lower to string number 5 to string number 6, what talk rhythm guitar? One. So if Dembo used to play 3, 4 and 5 strings only, why would he need a 6th string? Anyway, 6th string is already on the guitar. Why would he need a 7th string? Munhu uya anonakirwa naDembo series kuti abva create chistory chemufilm. Vanhu vangatoridza mastrings akawanda anotosvika string number 5 and 6 ndewe rhythm guitar. Why? Because the rhythm guitar plays the lower register. But still 6 strings is enough. You don't need a 7th string, you don't need an 8th string. So whoever created that story, it's a fake story. Even without any further investigation, I don't even need to investigate anything. That's so. Then one thing that I would like to mention as well is when it comes to Sungura, my 2 favorite guitarists are Leonard Import and John Chibadura. And looking at the way they used to play, John Chibadura used to play very complicated things. So I wouldn't advise anybody who is learning guitar to start with John Chibadura's lines, because John Chibadura was very fancy in his playing. He used to play stuff that was very complicated. Even experienced guitarists like me, sometimes we really have to practice to play some of his lines. Then on the other hand was Leonard Import. Leonard Import used to play very simple stuff, but he had a very good choice of notes. His melodies were very brilliant. He used to play stuff that would stick in your mind, stuff that would stick in your ears, stuff that would really hit on your heart. That's where Dembo's strength was. But when it comes to playing, most of the stuff that he played was very simple. I know if you don't play an instrument and something sounds good and something sounds sweet, automatically you begin to think that it's complicated, but it's very simple. Dembo used to play very simple lines. So if somebody is learning guitar, I always advise them to start with guitarists like Dembo if he's learning to play Sungura guitar. So that story, even without further investigation, I will just dismiss that story straight away because it doesn't hold any water. There's no reason why Dembo would need 9 strings. Then this one is the last question. Okay, the one who sent the question wants to remain anonymous. He says, I'm only starting to know you now. Where have you been all along? Okay, he's not the first person to ask this question. I'm always asked this question every time I post something on Facebook or on all my social media platforms. And my answer is, you have been dancing to my guitar lines for the past 3 decades without knowing that it's me behind the guitar, because I'm featured on more than 1,000 albums, and I've already demonstrated some of the guitar lines. Vesana Pisarema, Wanafungisai, Oliver Mtukudzi, Wanajapreza, Elias Msakwa, Somanda Ndebele, Mafrik, Derek Mpofu, Mbeu, Togi Vibes. This year is 2023. It's now 35 years I've been in the music industry. But what happens every time is people who work behind the scenes like me, we don't get very popular. We are not seen. And usually when people talk of music, when they talk of artists, they always speak of the ones who are about my microphone chat. Even Panutons, Magitara Badar. One of my just because I want to shout out my mic, I drive as motor, but I'm not going to be a so I bass and drums. So all I'm trying to say is, as a music producer, as a guitarist, my role is behind the scenes. As a result, a lot of people they don't notice people like me. So it's now that we have social media that I'm now able to post my own videos and interact with my fans the way I'm doing now. That's why you are now able to notice me. But I also had my own small number of fans who have been following me all these years. A small number. So I would like to pay tribute to these people all these years. Keep going on. You need people like that. Even Nyangwagata 2, Nyangwagata 3, but you need people like that. So the first person is a young man called Diamond Sabwe. Yeah, that young man has been supporting me. Lord Melvin ku Waterfalls. He used to pass by a place Pandai Gara, so all this time he's been supporting us. Tumira Matsamba before Kwane social media. Chingo Simbisa Anon's Diamond Daliso Sabwe. I don't know if I'm going to pronounce it. Then another person is Apostle Joe Kuti from Zayoja. He's somebody footing who has been following my career Kudara. After even after 4 or 5 years, okay, I know to Amboriza Ukoka, Budoka Zonatana Ningi, Kazonitas, UK, Kusteso when it data race from the head, Jonazontumli has been following. I to follow up, and even my days, Pandanchu Pintok Church Terek, even that was what is one person anga in love in my musicians. It is genuine. Was Mamisins don't go to Pasika, but is one person who died to visit Rotosham sort that's this level, Mafundis. As a post Yaga church choir is somebody is very big one, who down go money pese but actually come musicians and go and then go visit in Asnacha Kumbira, Asnacha to meet him. I'm going to visit so you know how you just feel good. Then another person footing Angachi Tsigira in industry is another man of God foot on the Apostle Samuel Manyika. Guitar and Dr. Bade in 1998. This was my first personal guitar, so this guitar is very important to me. And this guitar feature on thousands of songs and thousands of albums. It's national treasure. In fact, I call it national guitar because guitar Raridza Pakawandisa in the Garipa now Apostle Samuel Manyika is somebody who has been very encouraging, who has been very nice to me, very good to me. In shades of recordings and everything, he will pay me very well. So it's one person who has been very supportive. So I hope I answered your questions very well. Remember, on Friday, the 15th of September, it's my 53rd birthday, and I'm inviting everybody to come to Nakiri to celebrate. It's going to be a festival. Our wanda. The second post on my mind. So thank you very much for the questions. I enjoyed answering them.
Well, it's monosophical. It is what it is. We say it like it.